Hey, what's up guys, Rod Facts here. Today I'll show you a science fiction horror film, Daybreakers. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. In the year 2019, an unknown deadly virus outbreak arises and spread across the globe. Almost all people are unable to survive the tragic and turned into bloodthirsty vampires. It almost dominate the whole world because of their immortality. Those lucky survivors who are immune to the airborne virus cannot escape from the disaster, or they are hunted and captured by the infected, only waiting to harvested for the blood supply. As the vampire's population increases, the number of human is dropping into a point where the vampires start to suffer for blood shortage. The blood bank is running out of supply and it has to limit its supply to the poor vampires, while offering blood to the rich only. As the problem arises to worse, the vampire community need to find a new ways to prevent the famine. Vampire Edward, as a doctor on blood research, is working on the new blood substitutes under the instructions of his boss, who should died long time ago because of lung cancer, but survived being a vampire after getting infected. However, rather than save the vampire community from the crittid, the boss attempts to monopolize the blood supply for profits. Edward is also infected and turned into vampire by the virus. Although he is not human being anymore, he still shows sympathy to the human race, and tries his best to protect them from extinction. He conducts numerous trial and error on the blood substitutes with lots of effort. However, fails to find any efficient ways to produce sufficient blood supply to meet the demands. Frustrated by those failures though, Edward never loses hope and ambition. He knows he has to keep his research until he can find a way someday. Not long after that, Edward and his team find something very frustrating. That if the vampires do not take any human blood up to a month long, they will mutate into bat-like monsters eventually with less intelligence. Unfortunately, same is happening to Edward for a reason of his not consuming human blood for a long time. He loses control of his car and abruptly hits others. He is surprised to find all the victims are actually human survivors. They notice the vampire police are approaching near. Edward decides to help those people and hide them in his car. After that, one of those being saved, Monica, appreciates Edward's help. Although she realizes that Edward is a vampire, Edward is visited by his brother, Dick, when he arrives at home, who comes to celebrate his birthday with some fresh human blood. Edward, however, refuses to take the human blood but instead pours it into a sink. Right then, they are being attacked by former gardener, who turns to hunt vampire. On the next day, Edward is confronted by the girl Monica he saved earlier, who gives him a map, trying to show him a designated location for meeting. However, Dick overhears their conversation and challenges Edward for the human girl, but gets ignored by Edward. On the other side, the boss pushes Edward to speed up his research. Edward feels very disappointed when learning that the boss would never stop hunting human, even though the blood substitute would be found. Later that day, Edward follows the map and comes to the designated location, where he meets a mustache guy who claims that he is also infected, but later returned to normal human. Edward is astonished to feel the man's heartbeats. He is excited by that, for it may be effective cure to save the dying world. But before he can dig further into the details, Dick shows up and confronts them with Monica as hostage. They overpower Dick and manage to flee away immediately. On their run, Edward gets to know that Mustache Man is unbelievably turned back to human after an accident, who he suffered the sunburn and struggled to survive the great pains. However, right at the time, Edward is showing the symptoms of mutation. Monica cuts herself and feeds Edward with her own blood, trying to prevent Edward from change. Moments later, Edward is brought to Secret Hideout, where he sees more people survivors and turns to continue his research based in the new findings. Later, he learns that it may work to change with a certain sunburn amount. He then starts to build a testing control of sunlight. On the other side, the situation goes worse, as the vampires hunt each other for blood and mutated. The boss demands Dick to hunt Edward and bring him back. The vampire army attack and break through the base defense, catching many human beings. Shocked by the sudden attack, Monica rushes all human survivors to a different location. Edward, however, believed that he's so close to a breakthrough in his finding. Edward refuses to leave his laboratory. Without no choice, Monica and some followers choose to stay there. To protect Edward and his research for the future at all the remaining human beings and vampires. Edward risks his life to take the sunburn himself. He keeps testing several times and suffers in great pains over and over again. Until his heartbeats occur again, showing that he finally turned into a human being. As the vampire army breaks in, they hide from the search, and later decide to fight back to rescue those humans who have been taken by the vampire army. On the other side, the boss meets his human daughter, and tries to convince her to become a vampire for immortality. Boss daughter, however, refuses to change to a monster-like creature. After getting infected by her boyfriend, the boss daughter chooses to feed her own blood and burn herself to ash under the sunlight. The remaining three, Edward later visits his friend, hoping to seek some help from him, but ends up falling trap. Edward and the mustache man escape out, however Monica is taken through. While being attacked by a vampire rushing out from nowhere, the two are saved by the coming brother Dick, who is surprised to find out the Edward has restored his humanity. Backhouse of hungry for human blood at that moment, Dick cannot control himself any longer. He then attacked to bites the mustache man for blood, which unbelievably, cause him to change into a human. Realizing that the cured human blood works as a cure for the vampires, Edward comes up with a plan. He then come all the way to the company base and controls the evil boss face to face. By irritating him intentionally, Edward plays as a bait for the boss to drink his blood, making him change into a human eventually. After that, Edward ties the poor boss in a chair and places him inside the elevator, where only faces the swarming vampire crowd who is coming for his blood and tears him apart into pieces. Right then, however, the research assistant rushes inside and fires bullets at the soldiers who have just changed back to human. It's revealed that the research assistant kills all the soldiers on purpose, for he has just found a new substitute syphilis for the vampire, which is supposed to be a lucrative business. On the other hand, he will definitely lose the market, as the research assistant pointed his gun and about to shoot Edward. The mustache man shoots the research assistant with crossbow instead and saves Edward. In the final scene, the three survivors drive off into the sunrise and start their journey to restore humanity and humanity in the whole infected world. Before we say goodbye, shout to Da Efila Alatibi, Cooking with Hannah Pylonia, and Bev T. Thank you, I really do appreciate your support. I really do. Random shout out to my subscriber. Once again, this is Rod Facts. Peace out.